Hey folks, this is Curtis Brown, your instructor for HSEP 302. This is the first video post spring break. Hope everybody had a safe and enjoyable spring break. Sorry for the delay related to posting this video, and also for the delay in following up via any email questions. I haven't been feeling well this week, so a little delay with that. But everyone, it appears, has been participating in the discussion question, and I will follow up in 2 days or 3 days, by Monday, to reflect on this week's discussion question. And this week, clearly the focus was on response, and we'll talk more about that during the video that I'll post here shortly, next couple of days. But as I had sent out in the announcement, I wanted to recap the first half of the semester, discuss the midterm exam and the grading of the midterm, particularly the written questions from the midterm, and then discuss the second half of the semester, what it looks like, briefly discuss the executive memo that you submitted, the first one, which I'm still grading. Hopefully that'll be done shortly, and then wrap up with some closing comments. So this post will probably be a little longer than usual, just because I want to highlight a couple of things. So if you look at your syllabus in terms of recapping the course and the structure, the first half of the semester was really looking at what are the threats and hazards that exist, understanding the landscape of emergency management, homeland security. What do we have to plan and prepare for? So at the beginning of the semester, you talked about the threat hazard identification, risk assessment, the core responsibilities and duties of the emergency manager, what the threats are, whether they're natural or man-made, and what we can do to plan for these threats. So we looked at planning as it relates to the emergency operation plan, mitigation planning. We touched a little bit on that, but how can we protect life and safety, critical infrastructure to deal with these, in many cases, evolving threats or growing threats. Interestingly enough, looking at recent events, speaking of infrastructure, Florida this week, 2 days ago, a bridge collapsed, killing, I believe, 5 to 6 people. And so that is another threat that exists that emergency managers are a part of. I'm pretty certain that the emergency manager for Florida International University, also the local government that is there, I believe Miami-Dade, were part of the response to that incident. So we have a lot of aging infrastructure across the country, and we're going to continue to possibly deal with infrastructure collapses and things of that sort. From this perspective, the bridge was brand new, so it looked like it was a poor design. But a couple of years ago, probably over a decade now, in Minnesota, there was a major bridge collapse, and it was based on poor design and bad infrastructure. So again, this shows the diversity of the threats that we face and understanding what we have to plan for. And so a couple of weeks were focused on planning, kind of all hazards. That's very key, all hazards emergency management planning. Emergency managers have to be well versed in understanding, finding the answer to what are the threats and how do you deal with those threats, and how can local government, state government maximize its resources to be able to respond and initiate recovery. One of the main goals is how to get back to normal as quickly as possible, or some sense of normality, because of the scale of these threats. You want to make sure you can essentially stop the bleeding in order to recover. So again, the end of the semester, end of this first half of the semester was really focused on planning. Of course, you had the executive memo due. and looked at the Commonwealth of Virginia Emergency Operations Plan, and then we ran into the midterm exam, which I will discuss now. Again, folks, the course is online, so it really relies on reading the course material and staying up with it, and then being able to find the answer. So just in terms of professional advice, if you're an emergency manager, or in many fields actually, you're hired because you are considered a subject matter expert. Either you know the answer or you know how to find the answer. So as you saw from the midterm exam, it's open book. It's based on the material that we have read. So it's just about finding it and making sure you can identify the right answer. But I did add a couple of specific written questions that I really wanted to see your understanding of the material and the ability to articulate that. So one of the questions, the short answer question, worth 5 points. Identify and briefly describe in your own words step 3 of the preparedness planning cycle. The correct answer was training. The points were maximized if you were able to hit on the fact that this training includes a whole community. That includes the private sector, businesses, nonprofits, as well as government, emergency managers, etc. It's everyone, including citizens. That is related to preparedness. Your training in order to prepare for something that might or is anticipated to happen, and it's consistent with planning. All planning should ensure that training is a part of the plan. So again, that's essentially the grading scale. I maximized the number of points I gave, even if you gave the wrong answer, but you put some content in there. I did give a couple of points, so that is important to note. But again, this answer was in the book, and many of you got it, but a couple of folks did not. So just make sure you take your time and identify the right answer. The other written assignment, short answer question, was a 10-point question. Assuming that you're the emergency manager for the city of Virginia Beach, write a basic plan purpose statement. And I'll touch on this again and again, but I really want you all to improve in terms of your third person writing. Some of you all got points deducted for this question because you wrote it as I or we. You wrote it as if it was a letter. This is a plan. It's a technical governmental document, so it should be pretty to the point, factual, and it shouldn't be in first person. It should be in third person. So that is why I'm really pushing the memo writing and writing in third person. So a good purpose statement was scored well if it had the right tone, was in third person, and it also discussed all hazards and